everybody. I appreciate you turning in to the first of the Bar Talk webinars that we're having today. This is our first one, and I hope you'll forgive us if there are any kind of little glitches in it, but we wanted to take an opportunity to just reach out to our clients and friends and neighbors and share with you a few of the things that we're doing to stay sane during these insane times. And maybe it could help you, maybe it doesn't, but we just thought we'd share. Main thing we want you to know is that we're up, we're running, we're open. Our physical location's closed. We've adapted extremely well, I think, and we're all struggling with the same things in different ways, and want to just kind of share where we're coming from, but let you know that we're still pushing hard on the cases and intaking cases, and just trying the best we can to make things as usual as normal. So with that, Kaylin, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I wanted to have Angela just real quick talk to you guys about kind of the new technology that we've adapted over the past couple of weeks and just ways that we're still operating even though we're not all in the office. So Angela, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We are fortunate to have Carrie, our receptionist, who's been able to still get into the office to answer our phones and check our mail, and we're very appreciative of that. And for the whole team, it's been important for us to try to stay connected and be positive. And one of the ways we're doing that is using Microsoft Teams for instant messaging throughout the day. And Kaylin got us set up with this Zoom technology, and we use that for our daily morning meetings, our weekly case meetings, and have expanded to using it for client meetings or potential client meetings, as well as we've got a remote deposition we're scheduling for later this month, which will be our first time to use something like that. And we're just very excited to have all of this and have such a positive team to work through these challenging times.
So one thing we wanted to do was kind of introduce ourselves to everybody. I'm sure there's some faces on here that maybe you haven't interacted with yet or don't know kind of what exactly our roles are. So we wanted to start by telling you who we are, what we do for the firm, and then how we've kind of shifted into our setups here at home or wherever we may be working from. I'll go ahead and dive in and go first. My name is Kaylin. I'm sure most of you probably don't know who I am. I'm more kind of behind the scenes and in the office. I am the marketing director for the firm. Sometimes I get people wondering why a law firm might need a marketing director, but it's actually kind of a big role in a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that most people don't know about. But I'm really responsible for any sort of branding or content that comes out of the firm. So whether that be directly to your mailbox with a print newsletter, your email inbox with our e-newsletters or any other sort of email campaigns we send out to you guys with information or things about us. Anything you see on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, our website, all that stuff runs through the marketing department, as well as community involvement and any sponsorship, things like that. So yeah, I am working now from my home in Fort Worth, and I live here with my fiance and our yellow lab. His name is Reddington. For the first week or so, I was working out of the dining room on the dining room table, kind of had my stuff spread out all over the place. But we finally last weekend cleaned out one of our spare bedrooms, and I've turned that now into my own little office, and I'm trying to have it mirror my office back at the firm as much as possible so that I feel like I'm kind of in my same routine and doing the same things that I would at the office. So that's been really nice and kind of helps with productivity. So Tamia, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what's going on with you?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tamia Stoner. I'm an attorney. I have a 3-year-old, and my husband is an attorney as well, and the two of us are working remotely, and it is bananas, but we love it. It's actually been really cool to get to see a little bit more of our son on a day-to-day basis and just kind of really get to be there every minute of the day. And there's, of course, a little bit of downside to that too, but we're actually having a lot of fun with it. Getting a lot of work done in different shifts. We basically divide up the day, and it's kind of a 24/7 world. For now, I'm literally in the closet. It's the quietest, most cat-free, toddler-free space in the house. Given that this is probably going on for a month or more, I did order a desk, so I'm going to be in the guest bedroom, but we're going to make it more into an office setup, given that we have this situation for more than a few weeks, probably. So, but yeah, it's been working, and I miss everyone from the office. Just love the team we have here, and feel sad about not getting to see their smiling faces. But honestly, it's been a really incredible experience so far, and I hope that we can take a lot of efficiency lessons from this moving forward. Because I know for me, being efficient is now more important than ever. So I really have to be forced to prioritize.
Great. Carolyn, what about you? Oh, you're on mute.
My name's Carolyn, and I'm the medical records clerk. I'm the person that after you come in and give us all your information, I order your medical and billing records and follow up on them, make sure they come in, make sure they're correct. So our paralegals and our attorneys have all that information so they can work your case. And I'm working from Keller, Texas. I'm in my scrapbook room. And the best thing about this is the drive into work. It's just a walk down the hall, and I enjoy that.
Patricia, what about you?
Hello, my name is Patricia Ford, and I am the pre-litigation legal assistant. After Carrie, our fantastic receptionist, I'm probably the next and or first person that most of you speak with when you come to the firm presenting us with a potential new case. I love it. I'm a people person. I like talking to people and really kind of getting to know you all more than just on the professional level, to really get a real good feel for what's going on with you in your life and how that applies with the claim, and for us to never lose sight of that. As it relates to pre-lit, which is short for pre-litigation, that's what our little slang term. That involves anything pretty much that's going on for your case or claim before any sort of actual formal lawsuit has to be filed. So once you have retained our services and have all your personal documents and information, working closely with Carolyn to determine what medical providers you've seen, to request those medical and billing records, because that's a real heavy lift for us these days. But just anything related to the case, working it up, and working on getting your demands prepared to go to the insurance company if we can resolve the matter without actually having to file suit, which is always our aim. But if not, we're ready to go otherwise. I'm working at home from Fort Worth, Texas, and I am in what I call my office study space, which most people would refer to as a formal dining room, but I'm really not a formal dining room kind of gal. So any house that I've ever lived in, that's pretty much what I've used that space for, transformed it to. It has been interesting making this switch, but a little bit of a challenge, but in a good way. Being forced to get up to speed on some of this technology, getting it in place. As Tamia said, becoming efficient with, just time and the use of it, and just getting a new normal down for day to day and how that works. But overall, it's been great. Once I get one more computer monitor, I will feel like I'm completely in the saddle and we'll be totally good to go.
Great. Claire, what about you?
Hello, my name is Claire Ford, and I am an associate attorney at the firm. I am currently working from my house as well in Fort Worth. My husband is working from home as well, and we until recently had a home office that has now been turned into a baby's room. I'm 39 weeks pregnant, so she's due any day, but my husband has taken over the dining room area for his office space, so I have a desk set up in the baby's room, which has been fun, being able to spend some more time in here and just kind of enjoy the last few weeks and days before that whole new craziness begins. But it's been really great actually, working from home, and like the others have said, getting up to date on the technology, and it's really made me feel like I'll be a little bit more connected while I am out on maternity leave. So it's been a different change of pace, but a good one, and we're just excited for her arrival and taking it day by day.
What about you, Angela?
I am the firm's litigation paralegal, but I wear other hats as well. I am the office manager and coordinate with our CPA, bookkeeping, things like that. I coordinate with our IT folks and just try to make sure that things are running on time and keeping organized. And I like that. It's my forte, trying to keep things organized. I am currently working from home in my kitchen at my kitchen table in Keller. I live here with my husband and our son, who's 14. And my husband works for a telecommunications company, so he's considered an essential worker. And he continues to go into work every day and do the best he can to stay away from people and keep himself safe and us for when he comes home. And as far as what it's been like, it's nice. It's nice to be home and spend more time with Daniel. And like Carolyn said, the drive to work is really nice. It's just from, down the hall into the kitchen. I did find I, at the office, have 3 monitors. So I had an extra one here, but I kind of missed that third monitor. So I ordered a very large monitor, which kind of gives me the feel of having 3 monitors now. And my husband is excited about that because when I'm through using it, he'll be using it for a gaming computer. So it's every day he walks by it and touches it and pets my new monitor because it's going to be his new best friend when this is over. But we're making the best of it. And he actually built me a small little desk that I can use for when I want to stand up and things to help me be a little bit more active.
That's awesome. What about you, Carrie? We can't see Carrie. She's still at the office. She doesn't have a webcam on her computer, but I think we can hear her. So Carrie, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you're working still?
Yeah, I hope you can all hear me, but coming to the office has been very different the last couple of weeks. It's the same for me, but I'm the only one here, so it's a little quiet. I miss the noise activity and just all that, but it's just something to get different, get used to. And, it's just, I'm the receptionist, so, I have nobody to greet now and, all that, but that is typically what I would do. I would greet clients and any potential clients and work on the phones with Patricia for potential new clients and just get all that set up and filing. And, I appreciate everybody working from home, but I miss everybody here because it's kind of quiet. And talking about commute, every day it seems like it gets quicker and quicker to come here. I probably can get here like in 10 minutes, and it would have been like 15 minutes, but it just seems to get shorter and shorter every day. So that really says a lot. But I appreciate everybody here, and I enjoy, coming in and helping everybody get their end of things moving forward.
All right. And last but not least, Brad, what about you?
Well, I'm the chief cook and bottle washer. I'm the owner and founder of the firm, and I am working primarily from my house. I've set up a room. I don't really use our formal dining room either, other than my desk, and it's much to chagrin of Stacy, she comes through and sees all the books and papers and stuff stacked up across this dining room table and just shakes her head and walks out of the room. But it's been unique. It's been a real eye opener. It's amazing how well we've all been able to adapt, which is really a testament to what a great team we've got, but also the ability and the mindset of just this is what it is and let's make the best out of it. I too have struggles with not getting sidetracked. I chase squirrels all the time anyway, and it's been even a little more challenging being at home. But like everybody else has said, I've really had to focus and be more efficient. And actually, I think I've become more efficient the last few weeks than I have. The office is only about 2 miles from my house, and I go up there every now and then. I've worked a couple of days this week up there, but I primarily have been staying home. And I too struggle with the monitor situation. That's the thing I miss the most is I don't have 2 monitors, and that's been a real challenge. It's funny how you get hooked on technology, and then when it gets taken away from you, you feel like somebody stole the shirt off your back. But other than that, it's been pretty smooth. It's kind of a unique opportunity to learn and to move forward. And that's kind of the way I look at it is this is just a learning experience. Oh, and I will say one thing. We all found the Commit to 3. It's Commit to TO3 app, which we're all trying to incorporate into our daily lives, which requires you to put the 3 top things we want to do that day. And we have a contest amongst ourselves to make sure that we all get our 3 things done. And that's been kind of fun, just sitting down and deciding, okay, what are the most important things for the day, and then being sure you get them done. And so it's been a real help. So in some ways, we found new technology that is making us even more efficient and more effective.
Great. Okay, so now we wanted to just kind of talk through some questions that we got from a couple of our attendees here. Kind of starting off with just some personal questions about the situation in general. Brad, you kind of talked about a little bit one of your challenges being the computer screen, but one of the questions we got was, what is our biggest challenge and how you've overcome that challenge? I'll go ahead and start. But I think mine, I've realized that maybe I'm not as much of an introvert as I thought I was, meaning, a couple, before all of this, I would have much rather, stayed in than gone out and things like that. But I feel like one of my biggest challenges is just that interaction with people is gone and trying to figure out how to stay sane without having really any other interaction besides my dog and my fiance. But, and it kind of, not to get too down on everybody, but sometimes you're like, man, I feel kind of like lonely or alone a little bit, even though you're in, quarantine with someone but I think a way that I've tried to overcome that a little bit is by sticking to a routine. Waking up early as if I was going into the office, trying to maybe go for a walk or work out a little bit, eat a good breakfast, and then come kind of set up in my office and go through the day as if I would if I was actually at the office. And then at night, my fiance Rick and I have tried to do more FaceTime calls or Zoom meetings with friends and family so we can have a little bit more of that interaction with people that we may normally see, but haven't gotten the chance to see, or not the chance, we don't have the opportunity to go out and go to a restaurant or spend time with other people. So really just trying to find ways to stay connected with people to kind of make you feel a little less like you're in this alone and stuck in your house, getting out there and trying to stay connected with people to make it a little bit more bearable. But Brad, I'll pass it back to you. What do you think has been your biggest challenge aside from your computer screen?
Yeah, just staying sane. I guess what I've found that's really been important to me is, like Kaylin kind of mentioned, having a routine. It is so easy to stay home and work on the computer and never get out of your pajamas. I found myself not taking a shower till noontime or in the afternoon. And that wasn't working. I wasn't feeling right. And so I too have now, I maintain my regular schedule. I'm up at the same time. I try to do my morning routine workout. I'm actually getting out more often and walking when I get a little frustrated or the day's kind of closing in on me. I just get up and go out for a walk, a couple of mile walk, drinking lots of water, trying to stay hydrated, and just using the time wisely. The one thing that was driving me crazy at the beginning is I was trying to watch all the news, and it's the same news. They just say it 18 million times during the course of an 8-hour day. I found that if I just watch 30 minutes to an hour, I'm going to be caught up. There's nothing that's going to happen. And so, I try to eliminate all of those outside influences and just keep my nose down and move forward. And two, reaching out. The Zoom has been a really, really great tool. Talking to friends, families, neighbors. I've even thought about, I'm going to reach out to a couple of friends of mine and have a Zoom lunch and, just kind of sit down during lunch and just kind of share the BS back and forth. So that's kind of been my biggest challenges. And then just communicate. I think it's just extremely important that we all communicate. The more you communicate, the less down I feel. It's hard to get me down, period. But I too am a social person, and I want to communicate with people, and so I don't let myself get into that rut or into a shell. Let's just keep going, and so far so good.
What about you, Claire? What's your biggest challenge? Being
I think my
39 weeks
biggest
pregnant.
Oh, sorry. I think my biggest challenge has been kind of related to the pregnancy. And, before all this, my parents are up in Idaho and they were planning on coming down, and my brothers and sister-in-law and my husband's family's all in Fort Worth. So they're close to us, but still we haven't really seen them a lot, and everyone's kind of staying to themselves and at home. So that's been a little bit of a turn in events, and not something we really anticipated going into this pregnancy. It's our first child, and my side's first grandchild, but we're really just trying to look at it as a good opportunity to spend the last few days just the two of us and really enjoying each other's company. And we have a yellow lab as well, and she is just as needy as a child, so it's been fun getting to spend time with her and, go on walks and play with her in the backyard. And so I think, by the time this hopefully blows over, we'll be really excited for some visitors and some help with the new baby. And we've just been, sticking to our morning routines and trying to get some little last minute things done in preparation for her arrival. So just trying to, keep a positive mindset on that. And I know we'll be eager for the help and visitors when everyone's able to come see her. So.
Yeah, I bet. What about you, Patricia? Biggest challenge?
For me, I'd say the biggest challenge is as I said before, I live in Fort Worth, and under my roof, I actually have 4 generations. My mom, myself, my 26-year-old daughter, and a 1-year-old granddaughter. And that 1-year-old granddaughter has been the biggest challenge, just simply because, she's just all over me. And, you can tell that she can tell something is different. We get up about the same time every morning to kind of do part of what we would normally do schedule wise, and getting ready. She even waves bye to my mom when we leave the bedroom, and it's like, well, we're just going in the living room, but but then you can tell she's a little confused, like, okay, well, what are we doing? This is not the back door. And then, okay, why is everyone here? Like, you can tell that she's very aware. But thankfully, my daughter, her mom's work schedule is such that usually only lasts about 20 or 30 minutes. And then my day pretty much is my own after that. And other than that, this has really given me the opportunity. I consider myself primarily an extrovert and a real people person, but I always tell people that I think that I'm equally introverted. And perfectly content to be home. You know, I like to read. I like to do a lot of, you know, solitary kind of things. And so this has been a chance to feed some of that as well. Like Brad said, I too will get up and move around a little bit. I kind of have to make myself do that though, because I can get pretty stuck, you know, at the computer and just, you know, roll along all day. But I've been trying to make a point to stay hydrated, not eat too much, you know, because the pantry is just, you know, a couple, like 5 steps away. But going outside, you know, just walking around. I've got a pretty huge front and backyard. So, you know, just stepping out there and just kind of looking up and down the street, even, or going out back and sitting under the gazebo for a little bit, and just changing up the environment. But then coming back to, you know, working. And I found myself really doing almost the same things that I do at the office. Even looking up and going, oh my gosh, it's 10 after 5. You know, and then, you know, but I'm still working on something because I've caught a second wind. And so if that's what it is, that's what it is. And I may be on till, you know, 6 o'clock. I mean, it's just, but it's nice because again, the commute is just, you know, you can't work its weight in gold.
Yeah. What about you, Carrie? What would you say is your biggest challenge?
Coming in here and being by myself, it's not an issue that way. It's just, you know, I miss the whole loudness of the office and just that whole vibe. But yeah, it's just that, and just, you know, I'm trying to respect everybody's time, but when I have a question, it's like, oh, should I intercom them, email them, call them? And I'm trying to respect everybody's time, because obviously when everybody's here in the office, I can hear when somebody's on the phone or they're doing something. So that's probably just, and it's not a challenge, it's just trying to, you know, work around that.
Yeah. What about you, Tania?
Oh my gosh, our biggest challenge obviously is just navigating the time, but just making a schedule detailed and how we schedule our time, and just honestly trying to find some joy in it. It can feel like a little bit of a drag to have the constant childcare and plus trying to push cases just as I would be. You know, I'm trying not to have any lag in my cases at all, and finding a few moments here and there to just get outside, enjoy nature, enjoy this as much as possible. And I think that's been both a challenge and an opportunity.
Carolyn?
You know, it's been really nice. I've enjoyed being home. My black lab Marv enjoys it. The only thing he misses is the daily rides. And so every once in a while we'll hop in the car and go around the block a couple of times. Then he's thrilled to be back home. The only thing he misses is his little ice cream cone from Andy's. They always give him an ice cream cone when we drive through, so he misses that. But it seemed like the first week it was hard to keep my concentration, but it's better now. And I think we're all making the very best of a bad situation, and I think it's working great. I'm completely at peace with it.
Good. What about you, Angela?
I think my biggest challenge has been finding ways to stay active. At the office, I have a standing desk, so I stand the majority of the day and I'm constantly moving around. And my Apple Watch keeps going off saying, you know, your rings aren't as far along as they should be. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I know I'm not moving. And I've set alarms for myself throughout the day to do different things. One for standing up, one to do some stretching, one to go walk around outside. And I do that probably 3 or 4 times a day to stay active. And once my husband gets home, we'll go out in the backyard, or we'll take a walk, you know, together as a family, or throw the football in the backyard, just something to stay active and keep moving. It's just been hard trying to find a new normal to keep that going. But I'm grateful that we got this opportunity, that I have a job that lets me still have a job and be able to work from home and do this, and that my family is all still healthy, and we're keeping on moving. So it's been good.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I wanted to dive in now to a couple questions that came from people who are in the webinar right now. And one of the major ones, which is I think a hot topic right now, is about the Stimulus Act and how that applies to unemployment benefits and how do you know if you're eligible or not. Tamia, do you want to take that one for us?
Yeah, sure. This is really unprecedented with, I just saw today, 6.6 million people wanting to request unemployment. And I certainly hope that we don't have too many clients and friends in the situation, but the reality is I'm sure we do. First, people are asking if they're eligible for unemployment. There have been some major changes. First, I'll tell you how it was before, which is basically previously you would be eligible if you were unemployed, if you had previously been paying taxes and working in Texas, and then became unemployed for no fault of your own. That actually has always included people who are furloughed. Some people may not know that if they're just furloughed, they actually are unemployed. It also has included traditionally some types of leave, but now it's been expanded, so I'll talk about that. Previously, independent contractors and the self-employed were not eligible. Now they are. It's a little bit of a different process and there's some limitations. But if you certify that you're unemployed because of the COVID situation, you will be eligible for certain limited benefits, but still significant. If you are self-quarantining with a doctor's order, you already paying you for your time off. Also, if you have to take time off because of a child or another dependent that does have COVID-19 or is ordered to quarantine because of a COVID-19 situation, you'll likewise be eligible for unemployment, which is another change. You know, one thing I do want to stress is that if you're taking time off without a doctor's note, you are not eligible for unemployment. So if you are choosing to self-quarantine, you do want to make sure you get a doctor's note in order to ensure you maintain your eligibility if that's something you need to do. You know, another thing people ask is, you know, are the benefits going to be enough to help me and my family? It's true that in the past, the highest you could get was $521 a week. And that would workers making around $55,000 or more. So now, thankfully, they've changed that dramatically to reflect the reality of what life actually costs. And at this point, they're adding $600 per week for a limited 13-week period beginning in March and ending in July. So whatever you were eligible for before, let's say that you were eligible for the maximum of $521, you would add $600 to that per week, and that would be what you get. Now, what if you weren't making $55,000 or you weren't eligible for the maximum benefit? You would still add $600 to whatever your eligibility is. And typically a good way to estimate what your eligibility would be is to look at your 2019 wages and take around 65% of it. It's going to vary case to case. And there's actually a calculator that we'll put a link to on the website that'll give you a really good sense of what kind of eligibility you might have. There is a minimum, but it's pretty low. If you're making $20,000, you're definitely eligible. Another thing is, if you, how do you apply? And especially right now, you might be hearing about there being some very long waits. It's true. There is an online portal, which we'll also provide a link to. Obviously, the phone is a major source of delay, so we'll put the number as well, but really recommend using the online portal. The other thing about the online portal is when you apply, there are certain requirements for job search, which are actually being waived for this time. So you can know that when you go to the portal, you don't need to worry about those job search requirements for this moment. They're currently being waived. And then another thing people want to know, well, when can I expect to receive the funds? Unfortunately, it's going to be about 4 weeks minimum. It was already at least 3 weeks. It could be more due to the amount of applications. Unfortunately, that's kind of bad news, but at the same time, there isn't an arbitrary waiting week that there used to be. So hopefully that'll help people to be receiving benefits in just a little over a month. I mean, I know that's a long time. And we also got a question if the benefits will be retroactive. I honestly could not find a definitive answer to that. But the good news is that if you were already on unemployment when this happened, you will still get the advantage of this additional funds, and you will still get to be on unemployment for a longer time. So I'll talk about that as well. Even though the increased benefits are only available for 13 weeks, everyone is going from a maximum of 26 weeks of eligibility for unemployment in Texas to now being eligible for a full 39 weeks, which is going to be great because I do think that there's going to be obviously some issues finding a job at this exact moment. So I hope that helps. If you have any further questions, feel free to email me, and I will do everything I can to connect you with the right resources and hopefully help you as we go through this difficult time together.
Thanks, Tamia. That seems super helpful. Kind of on that same note, the Stimulus Act, how does that, another question we got was about how does it affect me personally, and how do I know if I'm eligible for that $1,200 payment, and how exactly does that work? Claire, do you mind talking to that?
Sure. So whether or not you're eligible for the stimulus payment and how much you will receive really depends on your adjusted gross income and how you file your taxes. So for individuals that make up to $75,000 as an adjusted gross income, they will receive a $1,200 payment. And then any individual making between $75,000 and $99,000, that payment is incrementally reduced as your income gets higher, and eventually phased out for individuals that make more than the $99,000 will not receive payment. If you are married and you're filing jointly, you will receive a $2,400 payment for up to $150,000 worth of income. And then again, that amount is incrementally reduced for couples earning up to $198,000. And any income of, if you're making more than $198,000, you will not receive a payment. Additionally, parents that have qualifying children, which are claim dependents under the age of 18 years old, will receive a $500 payment for each child. And then lastly, anyone filing as a head of household will get the full payment if they're earning less than $112,500 or less than that. We've also received some questions about if you're married, do both spouses get a check? And again, that depends on how you file your taxes. If you are married and you're filing jointly, you will receive one check that is made out to both spouses. If you're married and you're filing separately, each spouse will individually receive a check with their name on it. Another question that we have received regarding the stimulus payment is whether or not if one spouse makes more than $75,000 and another spouse does not, how does that affect the payment that you could receive? Again, following the same guidelines and basis of how you file your taxes and the guidelines of receiving the $1,200 payment if you make up to $75,000. And then if you make more than $75,000, that amount would be incrementally reduced up to that $98,000 mark if you're filing individually. And then if you're filing jointly, the total amount the check is, dependent on the total amount you make as a couple filing jointly. We have also received some questions on how your income is calculated if you have not yet filed your 2019 taxes. And if you haven't yet, the payment will be based on your 2018 tax return. So no worry there if you haven't quite gotten your taxes filed yet for this year. If you have, the check will be based on your 2019 filings. For those individuals that don't generally file taxes, the IRS is requiring you to file a simple tax return in order to receive payment. At this time, I believe that they are still working out the specifics on how they are going to have those individuals go about that, but they are working on that and updating the information as they receive it and as they finalize that process on the IRS website. Another question that goes along with that, if you don't generally file taxes, and for really anyone who is receiving a stimulus payment, you will not be required to pay income tax on this amount. And then lastly, there's been some questions on when the checks will be received or when they will be sent out. And the Treasury Department has said that the money will be available within the next few weeks. Hopefully the first payments will be, people will start receiving the payments around April 17th. And that would be for individuals that have their direct deposit information on file with the IRS. So that information would be something that you would have included in your 2018 or 2019 tax return. If you did not provide your direct deposit information, you will receive your check through the mail, which will obviously take a little bit longer. Historically, checks through the mail have taken 6 to 8 weeks, but unfortunately they do anticipate that possibly being a little bit longer, just given the high volume and the current situation. However, the IRS is also working on an online portal that will allow you to go on and update your information and any direct deposit information to hopefully expedite that process and allow you to receive that payment via direct deposit instead of a check if you have not already provided that information. And lastly, there's been some questions about whether or not there will be more than one payment. At this time, I think there has been some discussions about more stimulus checks in the future, but at this point, it will really be dependent on how long and how severe this economic downturn and the current situation with the COVID-19 virus turns out to be. So at this point, there is just the one payment, but there's definitely been discussion and opportunity for a second check if the economic downturn remains longer than we're all hoping. So I think that generally covers the stimulus payments. And again, like Tamia said, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to answer those or direct you to a resource to get you some answers.
No, that's perfect and really helpful, you guys. Thanks for answering those. Another one we got that Brad, I'm going to toss to you, is it looks like we have a couple of other small business owners on here, and they're asking about the SBA loans and kind of what those are and what they need to know about them. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. And Kaylin, your microphone is real garbled from my perspective. I don't know if it is anybody else's. You might go mute and come back on. We'll try it again here in a minute. But small business loans, for anybody that's out there, you may have heard about the SBA doing some small business loans. And there's basically two types right now that you can get. One of them is what they call the PPP loan, and the other one is an emergency disaster loan. The two primary differences between them is as follows. The PPP loan is geared to basically cover small businesses' payroll, rent, and utilities for a 2-month period. And you can qualify for that loan by calling your banker. These will be made through lenders that will be coordinated with the SBA. You can begin the application process tomorrow. So if you're interested in this particular loan, you need to do it immediately. Again, you can get up to 2.5 times the average monthly salaries, or what they call payroll cost, but that's a pretty broad term. It includes payroll, health benefits, retirement benefits, vacation benefits, whatever it is that you provide to your employees. You average it out over a 12-month period, times it by 2.5, that's the maximum amount that you can borrow. You can use that money then on payroll over the next course of a couple of 8 weeks and use it for rent and for utilities. To the extent that you do that, you can then apply for a forgiveness of the loan. And if you've used it on payroll, you've maintained your employees, and you've paid them, I think that you cannot reduce their pay more than 25%, but it may not even be that low. You've got to maintain, in essence, your staff. And if you do that, then you can apply to have the loan forgiven. The part that's not going to be forgiven has to be repaid within 2 years, and it's at a very, very small rate. I think I saw as low as 0.5%. So if you're interested in that loan, you can get onto, or I can send you the website, but you can get onto the Treasury's website. The application is already online. And then the real question is, what kind of documentation do you need to submit with it? But again, call your banker. Those loans will be through your banker. The second type of loan is the emergency disaster relief loan, and it is a lot different. There is no forgiveness mechanism in it. If you apply for that loan, you are entitled to receive a $10,000 grant almost immediately, which will be forgiven. That $10,000 grant will be forgiven. However, the rest of the loan will not be. The SBA has waived a lot of the typical requirements of obtaining an SBA loan so that the application process is extremely streamlined. The way you get that loan is you have to apply through the SBA's portal, and you do not go through your lenders for that. And you can get online and look at that. The interest rate on those loans is going to be under 4%. I think there's a $10 million limit, and you have up to 30 years to pay the loan back. So just depending upon what type of business you have, it's very questionable. It just depends on your particular circumstances. I will say this: independent contractors are also available, or the PPP loan is available to independent contractors and some other folks that you might not otherwise think might be entitled to it, but you absolutely are. The application process for that begins on April 10th. So if you've got more questions, like I say, the Treasury website is got some really great information. Or if you want to email me, I'll be happy to send you the links and a couple of Chamber of Commerce papers that kind of boil it down into a nutshell. And that's Brad@parkerlawfirm.com.
Thanks, Brad. And on that note too, well, first of all, is my microphone okay?
It's bad on my end. I don't know. Is it good on everybody else?
Can you hear me okay? Or is it?
We can hear you fine. It's just kind of echoing a little bit.
All right. Sorry. I was going to say, though, on that note, we're going to compile some resources and things and put them all on a page on our website that we'll email out to everyone who's attended today, just so you have that as a basic resource. We obviously aren't experts on all of these things, but we'll do our best to get you to the right resources and the right places to find additional information about all of these things. Another question I wanted to jump into that I think is a good one for all of our clients here on the webinar. We got a couple about how can I with everything that's going on right now, which I think is an important question to address. So I'll pass that to Patricia if you don't mind handling that one.
Hey, Patricia, before you begin, will you repeat the question just to the extent it didn't come out with her?
Yeah, Kaylin, would you mind saying it again? Because I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. One of the questions was about clients asking, how can I be confident my case will fall through the cracks with everything that's going on?
Okay. So for us, I would say, we have, we're a fairly, small boutique shop, which is a real blessing. And so we're pretty tight knit and communicate all day, every day with each other already, just as our normal work pattern. We are constantly, in each other's physical presence. Well, we were before now, being able to talk all day. Even IMing under those circumstances, emailing, and just, being able to touch base very frequently. So we already have a dynamic as far as that goes. And we are just, and it's still true even now. Yes, we've rolled over to some different technology, but I find that it's still all functioning in the same way. We have daily meetings every morning that we do by Zoom, the same kind of a format, to touch base and talk about the Commit 3, as Brad shared earlier, that we're all going to be working on. We get together and do that all in the same place, so that if we have questions for one another, we can talk about that real briefly before we get about our days. Again, we constantly email each other, instant message each other, and that was our habit before, and it continues to be even now. Obviously, not being in the physical space, that changes things up a little different. But then, you know, in the place of that physical presence, I found that we utilize our phones more, as far as either texting or conference calling, or just picking up the phone to talk one-on-one if there's a quick question or whatever. And I think that's worked out really well too. Carrie, even though she is in the office by herself, God bless her, has done a really good job, I think, of, you know, the workaround, as she said, reaching out to us if she has a question about anything that she's not sure about, and we're able to just really respond in real time. You know, Angela is, like she said, logistically, I mean, the best in the business, and already had us in great position to be able to, you know, have things in place that we use just as part of our general work process to stay on top of things, monitor things that come up on our calendars and diaries. We refer to them as workflows, you know, which involve the different tasks and assignments related to any file that we need to be working on and keeping track of. And so we really already had what I think is an excellent model in place that allowed us to move pretty seamlessly to where we are. And so all day, every day, like I said, I think we're all, just because of the nature of our personalities, some of us a little more type A, underline bold than others, but it's okay. You know, it takes all kind to make the world go round. We all got to be something. But we're all constantly aware of that. And we all, like you said, are keeping pretty much the same schedules, getting up at the same times, you know, getting online at the same times. Even about, I thought that kind of funny. I laughed to myself a little bit the other day that, you know, this is about the same time I'd sit down at my desk if I were at the office. You know, looking at an email and what time it came in, I was like, yeah, that'd be about what time Brad probably would send an email to me, you know, or something like that. So it's really all been a lot of the same, which is comforting, which is really comforting. So just know that we are all here every day. We're working Monday through Friday, some of us Monday through Sunday. And, you know, around the clock, we're constantly monitoring the phones, the emails, everything, just as we normally would. So if there's anything coming up, you know, we're on it, and we're all here pitching in, willing to do whatever we can to keep, you know, making forward progress for you.
Thanks, Patricia. Is my mic still bad?
It's better.
Better?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. I don't know what I did, but okay. I did want to circle back to you just real quick, Brad, on the SBA loans that you were talking about. We did have a question just come in asking for a little bit more elaboration around the independent contractors. Do you want to touch on that, or would you like to just circle back after the fact?
No, the bottom line is if you want to send me an email, brad@parkerlawfirm.com, I can send you that link of the IRS. But yes, the way I read the PPP loans, if you're operating a business, and it has to be operating within, I think, as of February of 2020, you are eligible for the PPP loan. And so you'll need to do that. And part of it is you have to be unemployed you have to be employed as a contractor at the time of this package, in other words. And I believe the cutoff date is February 2020 on that issue. But I can send you a link so that you can find more information if you want to just email me, and I'll be happy to send that to you.
Perfect. And then again, the URL for the information that we're going to compile with all of these resources, I'm going to get that up after this webinar, and I'll email it out to everybody who attended today, so everyone will have that. We have about 5 minutes left, but I wanted to end kind of on a high positive note. So let's go around real quick, and why don't we have everyone just say kind of one little tidbit positive thing that they think will come out of this. But again, we have 5 minutes, so let's do kind of a 20 seconds or less little recap. Claire, why don't you start?
Okay, so personally, I guess a positive or something that I'm grateful for that has come out of this time is really just being able to spend extra time with my husband and our dog at home and really enjoy that time before our world gets crazy with the baby and, start that new chapter in life. And I think, despite the hectic aspect of this and kind of how quickly it really was pushed on to all of us and everyone, it's a good reminder and on the importance of slowing down and not just rushing through day to day. It's easy to get caught up in getting up and running out to the office and coming home and just not really taking the time to enjoy going outside and spending time with your loved ones, and like you said, FaceTiming and Zooming with friends and family. We've been doing that a lot, and I've actually talked to some of my aunts and uncles more than I have, generally in the past. So I think it's just been a good reminder to take that time to enjoy life and to enjoy those around you, even if it's Zoom or FaceTime, and just to appreciate those little things.
Carolyn, what about you?
No, I agree with Claire. I think we've all had to kind of slow down and take a look at things. And I think when this is all over, we'll look back and appreciate it. And maybe we'll remember to do a little bit of that slowing down and appreciating all of our family and friends and the ability to be together after this is over.
All right, Brad, I might end with you because we're coming to a close here and I want to do a wrap up. So why don't you tell us one positive from you?
I'll echo what they just said, but also working smarter, being more frugal, being more efficient. The way I approach things, I think is going to be a little bit different for the better. And just to have an appreciation and gratitude I don't think I fully understood or appreciated. I hate to use the word twice, but yeah, that's it.
All right, well, I think we're going to kind of wrap up here. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for joining. I did want to say we did receive a couple other questions from attendees that were a little bit more specific to personal injury lawsuits and maybe their case. We will circle back. We have all of those questions. We'll circle back with you guys individually and touch base with y'all personally via email or phone call to address all of those other questions that maybe you didn't get answered here today. But again, we'll put together some helpful information or resources on our website, and we'll send out the link to everybody so that you have that. Brad, do you have anything you want to end with?
No, thank you very much for jumping on with us. This was a new thing for all of us, and I hope it was helpful. If you have some topics that you think that might be useful for a future webinar in the next week or two, send them to us. We'd love to do this again. And as I say, we want to call it our first episode. So in order for it to be truly our first, we need a second, not to have it be our only. So in any event, thank you very much. I hope it's been helpful.
For more information about the legal process and your rights, download our free book at parkerlawfirm.com.